John Stamos. He finally broke his silence. When Lori Loughlin's marriage to fashion designer Mossimo Giannulli came crashing down after 28 years, it wasn't her husband who stood by her. It was John Stamos, the man who had once called her the one who got away. In an interview this October, Stamos didn't hold back. He said he was heartbroken for her, and then he dropped a line that made headlines everywhere. He called Mossimo a terrible narcissist, a man who, in his words, busted Lori up to the core. He said he would never speak to him again. For a man known for his charm and humor, those were unusually fierce words. But they came from a place of pain and protectiveness. John revealed that he had seen Lori's struggle up close. They were neighbors, friends, and confidants. He said she was devastated, that she didn't deserve the heartbreak she was living through. And this wasn't just about the divorce. It was about everything that had come before. The humiliation of the college admissions scandal, the prison time, the public shame. Through it all, John never turned his back on her. Back in 2019, when the world was judging Lori for bribing a USC coach with $500,000 to secure her daughter's admissions, John quietly defended her. He said she wasn't the mastermind, that she had been caught up in something much bigger than she ever intended. He insisted she was a good person, a good mother, a good wife, someone who had simply made a mistake. But when the news broke this year that Lori and Mossimo were separating, Stamos's words hit differently. His anger toward Mossimo wasn't casual. It sounded like something he had been holding in for years. It wasn't just criticism. It was a confession of how deeply he cared for her. He talked about knowing Lori for 40 years, about how he could see through people after a few years, and that Lori, he said, was a saint. Maybe he meant it literally. Maybe it was his way of saying she had endured too much without ever striking back. But either way, there was something raw and real in his tone. John shut that down instantly. He said he loved his wife, Caitlin, that Lori was simply his dearest friend, someone who had stood by him through his own dark times. Still, his words about Lori carried the kind of emotion you can't fake. He once joked that he and Lori might have shared a kiss on a Disneyland ride years ago, but that she didn't remember. Maybe it never happened, maybe it did. Maybe it doesn't matter. Because what's more powerful than a fleeting romance is the kind of connection that lasts through marriages, divorces, careers, and decades of change. In his memoir, John wrote that Lori continues to be a cherished friend to this day, that they've weathered every storm together. And maybe that's the real story here. Not scandal or gossip, but the rare kind of friendship that Hollywood almost never allows to survive. When everyone else was running from Lori's name, John stayed. When she was called a criminal, he called her a saint. When her husband broke her heart, John said out loud what many believed but never dared to say, that she deserved better. And yet, even with all the pain and chaos, John never crossed the line between loyalty and love. Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he knew that some relationships are too sacred to complicate. Because sometimes the person who stands beside you doesn't have to be your lover. Sometimes they're simply the one who never leaves. John Stamos and Lori Loughlin may never have been a couple in real life, but their story and the laughter, the scandals, the heartbreak feels like something scripted by fate. She was the woman who slipped away. He was the friend who never stopped believing in her. And now, as Lori rebuilds her life, one thing remains certain. When the world turned against her, John Stamos stayed. Maybe that's what love really looks like, and not romance, not headlines, but loyalty. Quiet, unshakable loyalty.